Greetings once again to my fellow Stormcloaks and Imperials of Tamriel. It's Tapiox here, and today we are going to take a look at 3 essential fixes for the depth of field effect that comes with ENB for Skyrim Special Edition. Depth of field is an effect that simulates the behavior of a camera lens, where subjects in the area of focus are rendered crisp and clear, while all elements outside of this area are blurred and appear, well, out of focus. It is a dynamic effect that fades along with increased distance from the subject. Note here how the background becomes clearer as the camera pulls away. Okay, jumping into the game now, I will open my ENB menu to confirm that the depth of field effect is in fact enabled. However, now when I draw my weapon, notice how my hand and weapon are both blurred, since the camera is focusing at the center point of the screen, which is off in the distance. Fortunately, this issue is easy to fix, with just a couple edits to one file. To quickly find this file, in Steam, open the Properties tab for Skyrim Special Edition. Then click on Local Files and then Browse Local Files. In the folder that opens, you want to find the enbdepthoffield.fx file, shown here. Then, open a text editor, such as Notepad, and drag the file onto the editor to open it. In the opened file, you will want to search for the phrase, "Do not blur." This phrase appears twice in the document. Under each of these, you will see the equation fpdistance equals 1.0 divided by 0.085. For both instances of this equation, simply replace 0.085 with 0.485 as shown here. When done, just save the file and you're ready to go. Okay, now back in the game, again with depth of field enabled. Now when we draw our hand and weapon out, we can see that these both remain clear. And to confirm that the effect is still working, let's take a close-up look at this signpost, and note how the background blurs out as expected. Now, the second fix we will look at today addresses an issue with the depth of field effect's focal point. By default, the focal point is not tied precisely to the crosshair's position, instead sampling from an area around the center of the screen. Notice as I move the crosshair onto the signpost, the camera does not shift focus to the foreground until the crosshair is well into the middle of the object. And as I move the cursor from the signpost to the background, the foreground remains in focus until moved a fair bit away. Thankfully, this issue can also easily be fixed by another simple edit to the same enbdepthoffield.fx file. And this time, search for the phrase "center of the screen." A little bit below this phrase in the document, find this set of brackets containing sampler 0, coord, and 0.0. And all we need to do here is replace the word coord with a value of 0.5, as shown here. And now let's save and close the file and boot up the game to see what has changed. Notice how the effect's focal point now remains precisely at the position of the crosshair, which is a behavior I tend to prefer for this kind of effect. Okay, so now we have the depth of field effect behaving nicely in first-person view, but what happens when we shift over to third-person? Well, as you can see, by default the player character is rendered out of focus since they are not positioned at the center of the screen. And this issue becomes worse the further you zoom in. However, once again, we have a simple fix for this. This time we want to open the Skyrim.ini file in a text editor. For most users, this file is found in the folder at Documents, My Games, Skyrim Special Edition. For users of Mod Organizer, I believe this file instead resides in a separate Profile folder as per the step wiki shown here. Once you have the file open, scroll down to the bottom of the file where we will add a new camera section along with some parameters. I have copied all of these into the video description for easy access. Now the first line here is completely optional and actually not related to this fix. This simply extends the maximum distance to which the third-person camera can zoom out. This lets you do things like pretend you're playing Baldur's Gate Super Special Edition, and to perform cinematic fly-ins with a gamepad joystick. Now, to actually fix the third-person depth of field issue, you will want to include all 6 of the remaining lines shown here. These parameters control the position of the third-person camera, with separate controls for when the player's weapon is drawn. These settings can be customized as shown here, but the values I provide are sufficient to address the issue. I will also include these customization notes in the video description. Anyway, jumping back into the game again, now when we switch to third-person mode, the player character is centered on the screen and remains the focus of the depth of field effect. When the camera is further away, the entire scene is in focus, while zooming in close allows your character to take center stage. Also, note here how the camera automatically moves up and to the right a bit when weapons are drawn. This allows the camera to instead focus on what you are fighting, and more importantly, preserves the ability to precisely aim projectiles. Alright, in my next video, we will look at how to configure the depth of field effect to your liking in the ENB menu. And we will also look at the Advanced Depth of Field effect by Marty McFly, which allows you to craft some pretty spectacular visuals. So until then, I hope you found this video somewhat helpful, and I want to thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you next time.